All right, let's welcome in today's roundtable Republican strategist Ford O'Connell and Brent Budowsky, columnists at The Hill. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
Good to be here.
All right, Brent, let's start with you. I want to get your reaction to that poll showing that Bernie Sanders would actually be the best candidate to take on the GOP. Is that going to sway anyone's mind over there in Democratic land?
At this moment, no. If it keeps going like this a little longer, yes. There have been other polls that show the same pattern, where Bernie does better against Republicans than Hillary. And I think Democrats, I guarantee Democrats behind the scenes are much more worried about that than they let on. I talk to them every day. As recently as an hour and a half ago, I talked to a Democrat about the Quinnipiac poll. If you look within the poll, for example, Marco Rubio beats Hillary, I believe it was by 7 points. And Bernie beats Marco by 6 points. That's a 13-point gap where Bernie runs 13 points stronger than Marco Rubio. And the pattern generally holds for all the other candidates as well. It's either a small margin, but more likely 5 to 12 points of the difference. That is a very substantial improvement of Bernie and lead Bernie has over Hillary running against Republicans. And that is starting to create major panic among Democrats behind the scenes. There's no question about it.
Well, Ford, what about over on the Republican side? Should they start feeling or fearing the burn?
Fearing the burn. There you have it.
Absolutely not. We want to actually have Bernie Sanders continue to do this because essentially it undergirds one of Hillary Clinton's two arguments, which is she's the most electable in November. So every time Bernie keeps running up the numbers, it's great. You got to understand something. Bernie's run pretty much unfettered. We're even, in fact, I believe, running super PAC ads in favor of him in some places. So guess what? We like the burn right now. We're not worried about November. We fear Hillary Clinton far more than Bernie Sanders.
Brent, I want to go back to that Hill article, as John was mentioning, that there's like a narrow lead, 1 point in Nevada right now. And let's talk about that domino effect, because that's what people are really concerned about, that if Sanders wins in Nevada, that it's just going to trickle from there. Who do you think is more likely at this point to win Nevada, and how critical is this for the Clinton campaign?
Well, my editors want me to do a piece tomorrow that'll run in the paper Saturday morning. And against my better judgment, I will. And what I probably say as of now is it's about a tie. That may not be romantic, but that's actually what I think.
But what does a tie get Hillary Clinton in Nevada, other than sheer panic?
I think a tie would be played as a moderate victory for Bernie if it goes. I think, to be honest and objective about it, I think Hillary needs to win by more than, say, 5 points to really claim a big victory, since Bernie won New Hampshire by 22 and Iowa was a virtual tie. I think when you get South Carolina and beyond, I think Hillary will be much stronger. But what's more interesting is when you look at the national polls, you still see a growing number of polls that show, at least two of them recently, where Bernie was in the point or two. The biggest lead I've seen in the last few polls showed Hillary up by 10 against Bernie, national Democrats. So any way you look at it, her national margin has gone down significantly, really been cut in half or maybe much more than half. And that is something that gets the attention of Democrats. Bernie's stronger performance against Republicans gets the attention of Democrats. But when you get to South Carolina, Bernie probably has to win even by 1 vote to make a run at winning South Carolina. Most likely Hillary's going to win there. And it's going to be a long fight. And it's going to go on for at least 1, 2, maybe even 3 months. And the pattern is that Bernie, the more he gets known, performs better in matchups against Hillary and better than Hillary in matchups against Republicans. And that has Democrats worried on a number of different levels, because the establishment is almost totally unanimous for Hillary.
Ford, I want to go back to the Quinnipiac poll that John was mentioning, because when you look at it, you would think that Republicans would need to fear Sanders more than Hillary. But I'm not getting that sense from most Republicans. I mean, they rarely bring up Sanders. And you watch all these debates and primaries, it's Hillary, Hillary, Hillary.
I think what Ford is referring to is a prescribed burn from the Republicans. They're trying to undercut Hillary, right?
Absolutely, we're trying to undercut Hillary. That's why Bernie Sanders pretty much goes unfettered. Let me say this about Hillary Clinton. While I do think she's going to be the next Democratic nominee, I have to say that the proverbial crap is going to hit the fan if she loses in the state of Nevada. And that's really the bottom line. Here's the deal with Bernie Sanders, though. Bernie Sanders has closed the gender gap with Hillary Clinton. So basically, on the Democratic side, the female card's played out, and all she really has left is essentially African-American voters. Sanders. And if she keeps referring to her as her firewall, she may be in trouble there as well. I will tell you this, Bernie Sanders will never be the nominee of the Democratic Party. It may not be Hillary Clinton, but it certainly won't be Bernie Sanders.
Ooh, intrigue.
Yeah,
intrigue. Bernie Sanders
there.
talking about that Supreme Court nomination today, too, with civil rights leaders. He's obviously trying to nip away at that lead she has with minority voters, too.
So, Ford, Brent, don't go away. We still have much more to come. Coming up right here on Newsmax Now, a new Wall Street Journal poll shows Ted Cruz cruising past Trump, but how reliable is it? And in Iowa, Marco Rubio made bronze feel like gold, but does the same hold true for South Carolina? We'll ask our roundtable to weigh in. And John mentioned this earlier, but we again want to remind you to tune in to Newsmax TV Saturday night starting at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll bring you live results of the South Carolina primary. You don't want to miss it. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Newsmax Now. I'm Miranda Kahn. Senator Ted Cruz may have a dilemma on his hands leading up to this week in South Carolina primary. Right now, he's about 2 points ahead of rival Donald Trump, according to the latest Wall Street Journal and NBC News poll. Cruz leads with 28% of the vote. Trump, as you can see, is 2 points behind him. Marco Rubio comes in third place with 17%. However, it's important to note that that poll only surveyed 400 voters. According to a Real Clear Politics average, Donald Trump still maintains a lead nationally and in South Carolina. Now, right now, Cruz is on track to take second place in the Palmetto State, but anything less than that, some say, could be detrimental to his campaign. Cruz needs to take action to get the attention of voters because right now he's sandwiched in between frontrunner Donald Trump and his fellow Senator Marco Rubio, who's just nipping at his heels, especially following that key endorsement from South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley yesterday.
All right, I want to welcome back our roundtable Republican strategist Ford O'Connell and Brent Budowsky, columnists at The Hill. All right, you might think it'd be good to be Ted Cruz right now, but when you look at a lot of the TAC ads, a lot of the stump speeches, you got Marco Rubio calling him a liar, you got Donald Trump also calling him a liar, saying he's dishonest. Ted Cruz is in a Mexican standoff with those two guys right now. Is Cruz in trouble if he does not beat Marco Rubio in South Carolina, Ford?
Absolutely, he's in trouble. Look, the next 4 weeks are the most important 4 weeks of the Cruz campaign if he's going to win the nomination because these states are all extremely high in terms of evangelical Christians. And if he can't put some W's up on the scoreboard between now and then, he's in real trouble. And it starts in South Carolina. And frankly, in South Carolina, we're pretty sure that Donald Trump's going to wind up winning the Palmetto State. The only question right now is whether or not Marco Rubio runs by him. And if Marco Rubio runs by Ted Cruz, I don't understand how he's going to be able to dominate the media coverage going into Super Tuesday.
Brent, when it comes to South Carolina, how important is the battle for second place, and who do you think has a better shot of winning it?
Oh, I think the most important battle, which I've written columns about in The Hill, is for Plan C, the candidate other than Trump and other than Cruz. And it's a battle in South Carolina mostly between Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio, and I give Rubio the edge right now. If Rubio comes in third place but well ahead of Bush, or if he comes in second place ahead of Cruz, and I agree with Ford about that, but the way I would put it is there is a chance that Rubio becomes the Plan C. It becomes a three-way race. The Republican establishment and the big money guys unite behind Rubio, and I think that the endorsement of Nikki Haley, who campaigned with Rubio again today, I think that is a powerful move. And I think they're going to start hearing talk soon about a Rubio-Haley ticket. And if you want a nightmare for Democrats, that's it.
Rubio-Haley, perhaps Rubio-Kasich. Haley also endorsed Mitt Romney last time around. It didn't do him a lot of good.
Big difference, though, there, John.
Well,
in
inform me,
2012, Nikki Haley's favorability was only 51% with Palmetto voters. Now it's over 80%. Nikki Haley matters a lot more right now to South Carolina voters and what they think. And remember, he's also got Tim Scott and Trey Gowdy. He almost pretty much has run the table on the Native Sons, except for Lindsey Graham, who's still trying to find out where South Carolina is on the map.
And I think in the way that Marco Rubio kind of underperformed in the public way on the debate stage and on the stump in New Hampshire, he has lived up to his promise to do better in South Carolina. When you look at the CNN town hall last night when he was talking about his mom and how she is on entitlement, Medicare and the like, and also Social Security, and you look at his story about race and how he's got a friend who's a black police officer who's been pulled over 7-8 times. Rubio has that tool in his chest to use that none of the other candidates really have and to use effectively. And I think that is why, Brent, correct me if you're wrong, why he scares Democrats so much.
Oh, yeah, I think that's a big part of it. He is also a next-generation Democrat, a next-generation Republican, heaven forbid. And
you might
Hillary
wish he was a Democrat.
Yeah, oh yeah, Hillary Clinton is an older generation Democrat who represents the establishment. She represents the insiders. She's running to fulfill Obama's third term very openly, which I have argued is a terrible strategic mistake for Hillary Clinton. For every black voter she may win in South Carolina, by looking at Obama's third term, she is totally mispositioned for America right now. You don't want to run to be another Obama for 4 more years or the candidate of Obamacare. What Rubio offers is youth, dynamism, a good life story that is genuinely appealing, even more so, by the way, with Nikki Haley. And I think that there is a chance that Rubio does well enough that he takes off like a rocket, and you have a lot of big Republican money on the sideline, a lot of Republican endorsers on the sideline, a lot of big Republicans are waiting to see who they can unify around. And this is Rubio's big chance. He may do it, he may not, but it's a heck of an opportunity for him right now in Carolina.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see what happens, gentlemen. Ford O'Connell, Brent Budowsky, thanks so much for joining us today. Always a pleasure to have you.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ford. You got to think that if Jeb Bush doesn't make it past South Carolina, I think he'll go all the way to Florida, but if he doesn't make it, he'll do the right thing, and if Marco Rubio is the guy, he'll hand over a lot of his supporters to Marco Rubio.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to make significant gains. I mean, if Rubio surpasses him and Ted Cruz surpasses him again and he comes in 4th place, it could be do or die.
That said, there's a lot of polling out there. It's a little weird in South Carolina. Some polls have Jeb Bush rising up pretty rapidly, too. Don't count him out. Expect a surprise in South Carolina.
There's so much more to come here on Newsmax Now. The debate over Antonin Scalia's successor heats up again as the president decides not to attend this late Supreme Court justice's funeral. Newsmax Prime host and former Congressman J.D. Hayworth will join us to discuss the president's decision and what other presidents have done before him.